Welcome to our Explainer, where we break down some pretty complex topics. And today, we're tackling a real head-scratcher from the world of finance and law.
So let's just jump right into the big paradox here. I mean, how can a company's financial loss, losing money, actually become one of its most valuable assets? It sounds totally impossible, right? But believe it or not, it's a documented reality, and we're going to unpack exactly how it works. All right, so to really get our heads around this, we have to kind of shift our thinking. Forget common sense for a minute, and let's dive into the strict, literal language of the law. This whole thing revolves around something called a net operating loss, or NOL for short.
Okay, let's get into the weeds here, because the answer, the whole secret, lies in how the law defines the word asset, not just how accounting does it.
So, the first key piece of the puzzle is the legal definition of an asset. We're talking about any property or right that has economic value. Notice that word right. That is absolutely crucial. It's not just about things you can touch.
And what's really interesting is how this expands the whole concept. We're talking about intangible assets now, things that aren't physical but still give you some kind of economic benefit, like a patent or a brand name.
Okay, so with those definitions in our back pocket, the logic just unfolds in 4 really clear, legally sound steps. It's almost like a proof.
So check out this chain of logic. Step 1. The law explicitly gives a company a right to use its net operating loss as a deduction. Step 2. A right that saves you a bunch of money on future taxes, well, that has direct dollar-for-dollar economic value. Step 3. And as we just saw, any right that has economic value meets the legal definition of an asset. And finally, step 4. There is literally nothing in the law that says you can't classify an NOL this way. It's a classic case of if it's not forbidden, it's allowed.
Now look, this isn't just some abstract theory. Companies have been using this principle for over 70 years. Let's see how this actually plays out in the real world.
Okay, so the oldest and probably most common way to do this is through what's called a reverse merger. It's pretty clever, actually. A profitable company goes out and strategically merges with one that has a ton of losses on its books.
This just perfectly illustrates the whole principle, right? The loss corporation's NOLs become this monetizable asset for the new combined company. They can use those losses to basically eliminate their future tax bills. Get this. Buyers have literally paid millions of dollars for companies whose only valuable property was their tax losses. The loss is the asset.
All right, method number 2. Companies can also package up their losses inside a smaller, separate company, a subsidiary, and then just sell it.
So think about it. The buyer is essentially purchasing the subsidiary's right to reduce future taxes. That's what they're paying for. And that fits our legal definition of an asset perfectly, doesn't it? An intangible right with clear economic value. Now this next one is used all the time by large corporations. It's all about internal transactions between their different divisions.
This shows you just how a loss can be converted into a really tangible asset, like an accounts receivable. It happens through simple, documented internal billing. So, Company A does some work for its sister, Company B. Company A takes on an expense, a loss, but at the same time, it creates a receivable, an amount that Company B now owes them. And a receivable is, without a doubt, an asset on the books.
And finally, let's talk about the big leagues, major corporate deals. Here, losses are often treated just like any other valuable piece of property.
I mean, in these huge, high-stakes negotiations, losses aren't just some footnote in the accounting books. No way. They're a bargaining chip with a price tag. They're valued and treated just like goodwill or intellectual property. They become a formal part of the corporation's asset valuation right there in the deal.
So what's the one big takeaway from all these different methods? What's the common thread here?
Well, the common thread is this. Companies convert these losses by linking them to a transaction or a contract that creates a legally enforceable economic right. Whether it's a merger, a transfer, an agreement, that's the key. That legal right is what qualifies as an asset.
And that leaves us with a pretty fascinating thought to end on, doesn't it? If a financial loss can legally be an asset, what else in the world of finance is simply a matter of legal definition? It really makes you wonder how much of our financial reality is built not on numbers, but on the precise and powerful language of the law.